So today we're going to be looking at part 2 of the Myers Cemetery in Townsend, Tennessee. And so stay with us. We've got some wonderful history here. It will blow your mind. So let's go. Hey everybody, again, welcome back to Appalachian Cemetery Hunting. And as a reminder, this cemetery is located in Blount County, southeast of Alcoa. It's in Townsend, Tennessee, and they call Townsend the quieter side of the Smokies. Now, if you'll remember, they are 313 people buried here. For the sake of time, we're going to be looking at those who died in around 1920 or before. And of course, we will look at all of our veterans. We always need to pay them respect, no matter what war they fought in. We always try to remember them. So here we go with part 2. The first one we have is William Henry Fizzell, 1870 to 1900. And if you look at the carving on his headstone, it's something that you don't see very often. You usually see a finger pointing up or the shaking of hands, but this one is, it depicts the hand of God coming down from heaven and releasing William from his earthly chains. Now, isn't that cool? And this is the first time I've seen this particular carving in a cemetery, so I really thought that was a really cool headstone. Then we have Nancy Jane Lane Ferguson, 1865 to 1950. And we have a photo of her with Maybelle and Earl Kitts. And we're guessing this picture may have taken around 1930. And then we have a picture of her husband, William R. Ferguson, 1848 to 1928. And we have a picture of him, and it was probably taken around the early 1920s. Now we have Alicia Ann Lawson Freshour, 1808 to 1883, and her husband, George Washington Freshour, 1805 to 1887. And we have a touched-up photo of them. And I want you to read what we found about him. And this is going to blow your mind like it did mine. Well, it might not, but it did me, because I love history. And it's amazing. So it says, George Freshour, parents came from Pennsylvania and Maryland, married Ashley Lawson Green. George was a school teacher and leader in the Tuckaluchee Cove. His barn became a meeting place for the mission-minded Baptist. George's wedding coat was made as a gift, and guess who from? Andrew Johnson. Can you believe that? The illiterate tailor whom he had taught to read. Freshour said, I never saw anyone learn as eagerly and quickly as this young man. He never once dreamed that he was teaching a president of the United States. Now tell me that is not some awesome history. Andrew Johnson made his wedding coat and he taught him to read. Wow. And it's things like this that we get so excited to find, and it's really worthwhile digging deep into these cemetery histories. Oh, wow. So let's go ahead and move on. We've got Catherine Kaler Freshour, 1842 to 1905. Catherine Law Hedrick, 1853 to 1876. Daniel Hedrick, and they called him Blind Dan, 1817 to 1910. And according to one source that we found, he fought in the Civil War, but we don't know which side. We have Daniel Jackson Hedrick, 1867 to 1909. John J. Hedrick, 1873 to 1899. And the inscription on his headstone says that he died as he lived, a Christian. That's pretty. We have Mary C. Pauley, Stevenson Hedrick, 1811 to 1851. Polly Jones Hedrick, 1818 to 1865. Abraham Hicks, 1812 to 1890. And next we have his son, Meshach A., or they known as Mash, Hicks, 1869 to 1913. We do have a picture of him. And this is a picture of the birth page from his family Bible. Isn't that cool? I'll give you time to look at it for just a second. You know, you find, if you go to yard sales or thrift stores and you see these old family Bibles, look at them. You never know what you might find. And then we have Abraham's wife, Rachel Henry Hicks, 1830 to 1898. Also, there is John Edward Hodge, 1885 to 1914. Robert Hodge, 1834 to 1909. Susan Jane, known as Jenny, Kaler Hodge, 1886 to 1912. Now we have Mobby May Jackson, 1889 to 1907. And we also have her father, William Anderson Jackson, 1845 to 1908. And William served in Company H of the 7th Tennessee Mounted Infantry during the Civil War. Moving along, we have Charles Marion Jenkins, and they called him Charlie, 1880 to 1909. And we know that he was born in North Carolina. Now, Charlie played the banjo and was an avid square dancer along with his wife Amanda. And they were married in 1907. I bet they had a good time. Charlie worked as a logging train brakeman for the Little River Railroad Company. On June the 30th of 1909, Charlie and engineer Dan Bryson were both killed when their train wrecked at Jakes Creek in Elkmont, Tennessee. And if you remember back, we've done a cemetery back in Elkmont, so that's way up there. And here's an actual photo of the scene. Now, Charlie and Amanda had only been married for just under 2 years. They had a 1-year-old daughter and a son who was born after the tragedy, so he never got to see his son. That's sad, very sad. Now we have Matthew Kelly. Matthew was born in 1777 and he lived to 1880. So if you do the math, Matthew lived to be around 102 years old. A long time. Then there's George Alexander King II, 1837 to 1893. We actually found a photo of him, and we think that it was taken right after the Civil War. George did serve as a private in Company B in the Tennessee Cavalry during the war. Now, he was captured by the Confederate troops, and after the war was over, he was among a large group of former POWs being transported home aboard the riverboat Sultana. I know you guys have heard that before, when it exploded on the Mississippi River. But Charlie was among the very few survivors. Thank goodness for that. And here's a photo of the Union veterans at the reunion in Henderson Springs. And we don't have a date here, but we have Charlie circled in red. Next is Hannah Lane, 1844 to 1904. John Rufus Law, 1819 to 1856. And I'm going to look up these people here because some people leave the S off of my maiden name, Laws. So they may be some kin. We have John's wife, Rhoda A. Emmert Law, 1825 to 1905. Susan M. Shields Law, 1878 to 1898. Elizabeth D. McCampbell Lawson, 1835 to 1884, and her husband, William Hedrick Lawson, 1832 to 1895. Now we have Hetty Reagan Lawson, 1847 to 1906, and her husband, John Wesley Lawson, 1837 to 1890. And John fought in the Civil War, but we don't know which side he fought for either. We have Lily E. Lawson, 1889 to 1907. Mary Polly Bird Lawson, 1805 to 1884, and there's that Mary Polly name again. Whew, that was the most popular name in that century. Okay, and then we have Mary's husband, William Howe Lawson, 1804 to 1844, and we know that they married in 1825. We have James McCampbell, 1783 to 1874, and he was born in Rockbridge County, Virginia. James served in the Tennessee militia during the War of 1812. We have David McClanahan, 1775 to 1841. He was born in Virginia. We don't have a picture of his grave, but he came to this area sometime after 1795. I see a lot of early settlers' names, so be sure to, all you ancestor hunters, to look these up. I see a lot of first settlers here. Sally E.C. McClanahan, 1856 to 1877. Samuel McClanahan, he was born in 1808 and died sometime before 1870. And you'll notice his headstone is hand-carved. There's Martha Elizabeth McMahon, 1867 to 1917. Robertson Secundus Montgomery. That's a unique name right there. And I would say Robert here is a first settler. It says 1771 to 1824. Now, we're really not sure if these dates are right, but if you look at this unusual headstone with what looks like a face towards the top, I would say he would be an early settler. You see these kind, like I said before, in New England states and places like that where, the first settlers did come and land. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. We have Daniel H., known as Dan Myers, 1848 to 1899, and his wife, Betsy Ann Webb Myers, 1852 to 1926. Daniel served in the Home Guard during the Civil War. Then we have Elizabeth Cotter Myers, and they called her Betsy, 1815 to 1886. And her husband, Henry Myers, 1815 to 1879. We have another Henry R. Myers, though, 1877 to 1893. Now here's another unique name and a first one for me, Josephine Ware Myers, and they called her Ossie, 1853 to 1901. and her husband, Nathan Myers, 1847 to 1919. Then there's Jane Dunn Myers, known as Jenny, 1792 to 1865, along with her husband, John Myers, 1792 to 1854. So, there's some early settlers. And we know that John served in the Tennessee militia during the War of 1812. And now we have Mary Culberson. I don't know if I said that right. Walker Myers, 1822 to 1878, and her husband, William Myers, 1817 to 1895. And he was the son of John and Jane Myers that we looked at. And here's a photo of Mary and William. Next is Mary Elizabeth Lowe Myers, 1847 to 1905. Nancy Emmeline Birchfield Myers, 1820 to 1885. And the last person that we're going to look at in this video, part 2, is Nora Angeline Myers, 1885 to 1907. And that is going to finish part 2 of our look at the Myers Cemetery in Townsend, Tennessee. Now, I know that some of you probably do not like the parts 1, 2, and 3, but for the sake of time and lack of boredom of me reading, you might just let us do it like this and break it up in parts, because this cemetery especially, we have a lot of early settlers and a lot of history that we need to cover. And so they will be a part 3, Lord willing, next week. And we hope that you will share this video. Tell your friends, subscribe. I know I put it on Facebook a lot, but I know you can watch it on Facebook, but unless you have your own YouTube account, you can't subscribe to my channel. So I would appreciate if we could get some subscribers out there. And I hope to see you soon next week with part 3 and hopefully the final part. We'll see. So thanks for watching and see you next time.